Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Hitchcock, the writer and director of Robin. And here's how we made it. This actually started as a web series that we started working on a little over 3 years ago, and we actually started filming it when we realized we didn't have the resources. It was too ambitious. So I went back and decided to make a short film exploring a lot of the same main themes and ideas, and just sort of condense it down into something that I knew we could get done. And even the short film we made wasn't actually the original script I wrote. The original was longer and a bit more involved, but things fell through. Just learned that one of our lead actors won't be making it, and I still don't know about another one. Basically, I've lost half my cast today, so now it's time to rewrite the whole script again, because if we don't get it today, we're not gonna have a film. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. And so literally the day we were supposed to start filming, I had to rewrite the whole thing again in 2 or 3 hours, and that definitely didn't make things any easier for the actors. Jordan wasn't actually even initially cast to play Black Mask. He was originally going to play a character named Tom Monch, but obviously when I learned that I only had a little less than half the cast, he really took it in stride, you know? He didn't bat an eyelash, and he just sunk his teeth into the character of Roman Cylnos. And so luckily we were able to get back on track. Really, I have to give so many props to Jordan for being able to really get into character so quickly, and just that dedication to the project, because with something like this, you need that. So yeah, we definitely owe a lot to him. And same with Nate for really being on board from day one and just always being there and willing to give 110% no matter what to get this thing done. Total budget for the film was just under $100, but we just had to sort of make it work, and that includes paying for food for the cast and crew, and some of that money was used for props and costumes that we made and worked on that just never got used. Robin's staff was actually just made out of 2 old toy lightsaber blades that I glued together. I spray painted the whole thing with some metallic silver spray paint and dry brushed it with black acrylic paint, and then I took some marine leather fabric and used that for the center handle. I actually took some gold metallic paint and painted on the Robin emblem. The drug packets were actually just Ziploc bags filled with flour and then wrapped in saran wrap to give it more of a rectangular shape. Robin's costume, it was actually just a PJ sweater and some sweatpants, and then we put shin guards on him for boots. I made the belt out of a women's belt and some gum containers, and I just spray painted that with metallic gold. The cape is just some fabric from Walmart that my little sister actually helped me sew together, and then we put the magnets on because we couldn't permanently attach anything to the sweater, and so all of the logo and all the little dashes on its chest are also attached with magnets, and they're just made out of pieces of frisbee, just little plastic pieces from a broken frisbee I had, and I spray painted those gold and dry brushed them with some acrylic black paint. And the mask is actually made out of craft foam. Basically, we heated it in the oven and then just pressed it in between 2 plastic masks to give it shape, and then just cut out the design that we wanted. As for the gauntlets, those are made of craft foam as well, and that was just a matter of cutting out the shapes I wanted and gluing it together to make it hopefully look believable. And that was sort of the same process for all the costumes, just piecing them together.
The Black Mask's look, I was actually inspired by Michael Mann's Heat.
So his costume obviously was just a airsoft mask that I modified a little, took out the eye protection, and then a suit that Jordan actually provided. Jason and Todd, his gloves were actually just latex cleaning gloves that I spray painted, and he actually wore the same belt as Nate. We just had the buckle actually attached with a screw so that we could unscrew it and then replace it with Jason's buckle, which was more rectangular. For the Batman costume, that was actually just a pair of gray sweatpants and a gray sweater. The chest emblem was made from foam, and the mask was a $15 Halloween mask that I bought off Amazon, which did not look very good when it got there, but I tried fixing it up a bit, put some foam in the ears and filled the head with a balloon to sort of give it more shape. And then we actually took some Velcro and Velcroed down the sides of it so that they wouldn't stick up so much. And this right here is actually my dad, who wasn't originally cast to play Batman, but when things fell through, he really helped us out, and he really gave it his all, and we couldn't have done this without him. The only person on set who was an actual trained actor was Jordan. And when you're working with people who aren't as comfortable acting in front of a camera, you do have to get a little creative in just trying to get natural performances. So one thing that I would do is call cut for reaction shots and then leave the camera rolling as I gave them the direction. That way I had footage of them actually processing what I was saying to them, and I would stand about where the other character would be. A lot of times that's actually the footage that you see in the film, because you get much more natural reactions when they're just trying to think about what you're saying. Another thing I would do is give really weird direction, just to get the actors to stop thinking so much about the actual dialogue and what they're trying to say or do, and just get them thinking about what I just said. I think at one point I was talking about like a turkey or something like that. I don't know. I said some really weird suggestions. There was a bit of a challenge in lighting the film, just because most of it takes place in this very small room, so there wasn't a lot of space to light or really move around the lights without getting a whole bunch of shadows from the camera and all that. So I tried to keep it very simple, use practicals on the desk with the lamp, and light it to where we wouldn't have to move things around too much, because we were also working on a very tight timeline, and I knew we wouldn't have a lot of time to have new setups in between each shot. So for the most part it was just two can lights that I actually clamped onto the bottom of the table and pointed them at the wall to sort of bounce the light around, and then I had two other can lights that I used to sort of get your rim lights and get a little more contrast and interest into the shots. And in some shots we actually even used just a flashlight to simulate moonlight. I think this film really is a testament to the phrase, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. From actors not showing up, issues with getting gear to work, the costume kept falling apart. Every other shot we had to tape the mask back on or fix chest pieces or the emblem, the cape.
That block here, across here,
Oh, you broke it. We couldn't get the picture to light on fire. I actually had to do that in post. Of course, our audio just quit working, and it wasn't until about a third of the way through that we realized that everything we'd shot had no usable audio. And because of that, we actually ended up having to redo the whole film in ADR afterwards. So luckily the actors were both able to come in and record their lines. We would play the footage and let them watch, get used to line again, and then we would record it until we got a really solid performance. And another thing that helped with that is just that Jordan was wearing a mask for most of the film, so we didn't have to worry too much about lining up his lip movements for most of his lines. Even though I'm so thankful for my older sister letting us film at her house, in between the first day and the second, they had completely redone the floors. So we went from bare wooden floor to the nice, really cool looking hardwood, but it didn't quite fit for the shoot. So to get around that, I just sort of took a piece of spare wood that I had lying around, and we laid it down on a furniture blanket, and then we would just act out the scene, and I would get a clean plate later with just the wood there, and then I knew I could go back and actually comp in that section, just sort of duplicate it and replace the hardwood. And then in some shots, like here where Nathan's being choked, we actually just had the piece of wood behind him, and hopefully no one noticed. The fight between Jason and Black Mask, that was a little trickier just because of the camera movement, so I actually had to make a 3D layer with the duplicated masks and frame by frame track along with that camera movement, and then rotoscope out the table and Jordan and Brandon to make sure it all looked cohesive. I also added in a moon in a lot of the shots with the window because I knew on the day that I wanted that moonlight coming in, which is why we had that blue side and rim light in a lot of shots, which really sells the effect. But we couldn't quite get it looking exactly how we wanted on the day, so I just took a lens flare, blurred it, and tried to fit it into the scene, and I would track that into the shots where we see the window to sort of add a little more color contrast. I also thought it would be kind of nice to have something so different from the color inside the room, which is meant to be this really almost oppressive, sickly green-yellow, by having that blue, and that would help link to when we have the shots of Batman coming in. And so there would be this sort of visual contrast between the situation that Tim is in and Freedom. The one thing that annoys me, I think, most is just the choreography for the Tim and Black Mask fight, because it was just so rushed. On the day, I had to throw everything out and come up with all new stuff, so we actually made up that choreography right there, and both Jordan and Nate had to learn it right then. And if they hadn't been as dedicated as they were, I really don't see how we would have gotten anything this good. But it definitely hurt, that fight, because it was just so rushed, and I know we definitely could have done a lot better had we had that time. And neither of the actors really have any combat experience. When we were working on the series, I actually took some time to work with Nate and have him trained in just some basic film combat, because I knew we would have fight scenes. So we'd been working with him, especially with the staff, a fair amount to try and get him comfortable with that. But Jordan, since we didn't know he was even going to be playing Black Mask, he didn't have any real film combat training at the time. So it was definitely a challenge to try and get them to be a bit more comfortable and go further than maybe they would like to in this fight scene. But we really tried to break down those barriers to get something that hopefully feels grueling and intense. Now, because Jordan and Nathan weren't exactly professional fighters, there were some shots where I kind of had to tweak their performances in post. For instance, here you'll see that I actually extended Nathan's punch so that it made contact, and same thing with his kick here. But for the most part, what you see is all them. And really, I have to thank so many people. My older sister for letting us use our house, my parents for just being so supportive, my friends for being there through this series, and trying to help wherever they can. And really just, I don't even know where to begin. Blank Stage Acting Studios, I never would have found Jordan if it hadn't been for them and their help. But most of all, I really have to thank my little sister, because she has, throughout all of my films, but especially this project, she has always been there, doing the less glorious jobs, running boom, and just running around being cables, making sure everyone's doing what they need to do, and helping the actors. She'll listen to the scripts or read the scripts, make sure they're all good. Anything and everything I need, she's always been there for me. So, Tiffany, thank you. And thank you again to Jordan and to Nathan, my brother Brandon, my dad, my mom, everyone you guys made this possible, and I hope that it was worth it for you too, because I know this is definitely going to be one of my better memories for a long time. All right, enough of the gushy stuff, right? Let's wrap it up with some bloopers. That was the cape one.
Oh,
it's okay.
Oh, I knew that one.
That sounded good.
I totally can do it. You guys are just all looking at me.